A core part of competitive Pokémon is having counters and checks to stop strong Pokémon from completely taking over every game. But some Pokémon actually end up countering themselves, meaning they struggle when facing their own kind. Whether it's typing, moves, or stats, these Pokémon have a tough time making progress in mirror matches. Let's dive deeper into these tricky matchups and see which Pokémon cannot quite handle themselves. Also, to make things more interesting, I'm not just gonna mention a whole bunch of bulky defensive Pokémon. I really wanna go in depth on offensive Pokémon that can be used for defensive purposes. Landorus Styrian is arguably the most iconic example of a Pokémon that counters itself. In past generations, it was so common for Landorus T to wall opposing Landorus T that many sets ran Hidden Power Ice specifically to deal with the mirror. I mean, how many times have you seen the exact scenario where you or your opponent switches in Landorus T against Landorus T? Landorus' ability Intimidate, combined with its strong physical bulk, makes it very effective at weakening and tanking hits from physical attackers, including itself. Offensive Landorus T sets usually rely on physical moves to make use of its high attack stat, but that is where the problem starts, because its ground flying typing gives it an immunity to Earthquake, its strongest step option, and while Stone Edge can hit it neutrally, it lacks stab boost and it doesn't hit hard enough against Landorus, especially after the Intimidate route. Because of this, many sets in older generations used Hidden Power Ice to target opposing Landorus T and other ground types. It hits its weaker special defense, bypasses Intimidate, and deals 4 times super effective damage. But in Gen 8, Hidden Power was removed, limiting Landorus' options to status moves like Toxic or utility like Knockoff. In Gen 9, the situation got even worse, because Toxic and Knockoff are gone from its move pool too. The only real answer left is running Terra Blast Ice, which is occasionally seen on Choice Scarf sets. Buzzsaw is an even funnier example, because it can literally barely touch itself. Pass on that though. Its finding bug typing resists both of its own step moves, which already puts it in a weird spot in a mirror match. On top of that, Buzzsaw doesn't have great coverage to deal with itself. It does learn dual wing beat, but that move is only useful in the mirror, making it a super niche option that almost no one actually uses. Unlike Landorus T, which was so common that Hidden Power Ice was worth using, not just for itself but also for threats like Gliscor and Garchomp, Buzzsaw isn't nearly common enough to justify running dual wing beat specifically for the mirror. Instead, it prefers more useful coverage like Ice Punch, Earthquake, or Poison Jab. And with its excellent physical bulk and access to Roost, Buzzsaw can end up in a completely stalled out mirror match. Unless it's running Toxic, it usually has no way to make real progress against another Buzzsaw. Clefable is a more complicated case because how it performs in a mirror match depends heavily on both its ability and its set. With Clefable's naturally good special bulk, while also running a lot of the times max HP and not having great special attack, it will barely do any damage against itself. Add in Leftovers and Moonlight Recovery and you've got yourself a stalemate. Clefable typically runs one of 3 sets: a utility set, a Calm Mind set, and an unaware Calm Mind set. And this is where things get tricky. If both Clefables are using the same set, it almost always ends in a stalemate. If one runs a utility set and the other runs Calm Mind, the Calm Mind set will eventually win. But if a regular Calm Mind Clefable runs into an unaware Calm Mind Clefable, the unaware set always wins, because it ignores the opposing boost while boosting its own special attack and special defense. The last scenario is especially rough, since Clefable cannot break through itself even with Calm Mind. Unaware gives it one side a guaranteed advantage. Zapdos is commonly used as a physically or specially defensive pivot, which makes it an excellent wall even against itself. This is especially noticeable in Gen 9 OU, where offensive Zapdos sets have become much less common, On defensive sets, Zapdos' strongest attacking moves are typically Hurricane and Discharge, but in a mirror match, Hurricane is resisted, and while Discharge does hit for neutral damage, it barely does around 33% to a physically defensive Zapdos and even less to a specially defensive one. On top of that, Zapdos has no real coverage to hit itself for super effective damage, but even if it did, it's extremely unlikely that a defensive set would ever run it. So in most cases, a Zapdos mirror becomes a slow and draggy stalemate where neither side can do much aside from using Volt Switch to get out of the battle. And that's actually why it uses Volt Switch, just so it doesn't have to deal with the mirror match. Okidoki isn't currently an OU tiered Pokemon, but it does show up occasionally as a bulky attacker with Assault Vest or a Setup Sweeper using Bulk Up. Just like Buzzwole, its Poison Fighting typing resists both of its own stab moves, putting it in an awkward spot for a mirror match. It also lacks strong coverage options to hit itself for super effective damage. It does get access to high horsepower, which isn't a bad move overall, but it doesn't really hit anything that Okidoki's usual coverage, like Knockoff or Ice Punch, can't already handle. And since Okidoki isn't common in Gen 9 OU, there's really no reason to run high horsepower just to prepare for the rare mirror match. Giving up Knockoff or Ice Punch is just not worth it. So if two Okidoki do end up facing each other, chances are neither will be able to make meaningful progress. Hatterene is a bit of a weird case, because in theory it doesn't wall itself, but in practice the mirror match can drag out for quite a while. Its psychic typing causes it to resist its own psychic moves, though that's not the case for fairy type attacks. And while it's not especially bulky on the special side, the way its sets work makes the mirror more drawn out than you'd expect. There are a few ways this can play out. Hatterene has 4 sets you would commonly see, but most of them are a Calm Mind set with leftovers or a bulky Assault Vest set. Both typically also run Training Kiss as their Fairy Step and Mystical Fire for coverage. Training Kiss is a weak move, but it heals a lot of HP. So whether Hatterene is boosting its special defense with Calm Mind or running an Assault Vest, Training Kiss usually is not gonna deal a lot of damage, but it will keep healing Hatterene in the process. Meanwhile, Mystical Fire lowers the opponent's special attack every time it hits, making the match even more of a slog. And in some cases, Hatterene even runs Pain Split, which can make the mirror even worse. There's one move that can speed things up, which is Psychic Noise, as it prevents healing. If one side is running it, this stalemate can be broken, but Psychic Noise still does not do a lot of damage, and even then, the mirror is usually just a slow and painful death. And there you have it. These are some top tier Pokemon that actually counter themselves. Let me know in the comments what mirror match you think is the funniest out of the ones mentioned. If you made it this far, don't forget to like the video and subscribe if you're new. If you want to support the channel even more, you can become a member for just $1. Your name will be featured on the end screen. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.